There are three relationships, in a podcast.
Okay, so what are some of the main differences between an everyday person knowing that they've got some value for a particular audience? They get on a podcast, right? They share their value throughout the interview, and then they're allowed at the end, right, to give a free gift. What makes the difference between that person and you, who's making six figures in a very short amount of time simply by podcasting? And what's the difference?
I just saw a flash of Jerry Maguire. You want the host to virtually say, "You had me at hello." And you want the audience to feel you. It's all about the energy. And I'm going to get a little deep here and we'll go backwards and forwards on this. And the first mistake that I see people make is they get into networking rooms, et cetera, and they will say, "I am passionate about this. I like to talk about this. I can talk about this. I'd love to be on your podcast." Now, anybody that goes to a podcast host and says, "I'm passionate about this. I like to talk about this." If I was the host, I would say that person is all about them. We teach to, and look, as a host, you do your homework. You introduced me beautifully. You knew all the things. As a guest, most people just sit back, they'll throw over some questions. Here's my bio. And my job is to answer your questions as best as possible. Now, if your audience could put a finger up and put a big cross against that, that is not your job and role. So the first thing is to excite the host about what it is that you're going to give their people. And that's the first thing. The job there is to excite the host. There's nothing better than getting on a podcast with an excitable host that I can't wait to share what you've got. Now, I'm going to quickly go into the foundation of all of this. There are three relationships, in a podcast. Most people will think about the you-me relationship, me, you, the host, the guest. And your job is to do a good job to answer the questions, to be led by the host. Okay, that's one. And then there's the guest and the audience. And people think, yeah, I'm just going to talk and they'll hear. No, you swing around, you bring them in, you invite them in, and you do it in a way that, Antoniette, this is for your people. I know your people are going to love this. And you've actually just invited them back into the conversation. And when you do that, you're giving them a little surge of oxytocin, the belonging drug, and you're starting to create the happy hormones. Yeah, I'm part of this. I feel a part of this. And the third relationship is, how do you enhance and elevate the relationship between the host and the audience? And I know personally from all the fantastic work that you do with your people that you create that relationship. Now, what I've just done is what I do and what you should do. You've elevated and edified the host in front of their people. So that gives you a surge of dopamine. It's like, well, hey, listen, here Steve's talking about me nicely in front of my people. And the audience are thinking, wow, yeah, our host, our mentor, our whatever they are, is a really cool, hot person because this person is talking about it. So when you have that energy flow, the whole feel of the actual podcast is totally different. And if your people are ready with a pen in hand, be the prize, not the professor.
Mm. So the belonging drug, that's huge. I know when I was a producer for years before I was an agent, right? And one of the biggest things that made my events so successful was that it became the first order of business. The first day was all about creating community, creating that belonging. I didn't even know I was following your brilliant way of doing this, right? But I knew if I didn't do that, it was just going to be disjointed. People were going to be half engaged. But once you really cement that feeling like, wow, I'm in the right place at the right time and I'm not going to miss a thing, then they're not just there in body, but they're also there in spirit and in mind and interacting. So love that point. I've never really thought about that in context of being a guest on a podcast. Of course, you want them to feel like they're in the right place at the right time. They're part of that half hour or an hour journey, right? With it's not just the host
Absolutely.
and the interviewee, it's they're inclusive in that. And then elevating the host.